If you grew up watching a lot of cartoons, then odds are you've seen some pretty emotional stuff. Sad moments have been a staple of animated films for a long time. They're usually intended to be character development moments for the protagonist and helps the audience sympathize with them, but those moments will often stick with the audience, especially if it's something relatable like experiencing loss. Some of the most well-known animated films in history do this, but it's also something that's carried on even to this day with both movies and TV shows. On a side note, who would have thought that Futurama, of all places, would have given us some of the most emotional and heartbreaking moments ever put on TV? I've been around long enough to see many moments like that. Every Disney movie, DreamWorks, Pixar, the works of Don Bluth. At this point, I feel like I've seen it all. But there was always something else. Something from long ago, a hazy memory that had existed in my mind for as long as I can remember, but I couldn't quite remember what it was. And at one point, I just kind of shrugged it off and thought maybe it was just something I had made up. And then, one day, I found it. The Last of the Curlews. Odds are you've never heard of this one, or if you have, you might have blocked it out of your memory like I did. It was a TV special produced by Hanna-Barbera based on a novel of the same name published in 1954. It originally aired in 1972 as an ABC after-school special, incidentally as their first episode, but I recall seeing it sometime in the mid to late 80s, likely on a Nickelodeon program called Special Delivery. Special Delivery aired a lot of old TV specials while Nickelodeon was still figuring out some original programming. Though Last of the Curlews doesn't seem to be listed among their episodes. The reason I think this is because I found the special on this very specific Hanna-Barbera DVD with other specials all based on works of literature. I remember for certain I watched Oliver and the Artful Dodger on Nickelodeon, and it is listed as an episode. I could be wrong, or maybe there was an oversight, but I feel like this is accurate. At first glance, this special probably doesn't look like much. Just a cartoon about a bird, right? Do not be fooled by its calm exterior, for what lies ahead is a roadmap of pain and repressed childhood trauma. Today we're facing our demons. Let's have a look at The Last of the Curlews. So the special focuses on a bird, specifically a relatively little known species called an Eskimo curlew, also known as a northern curlew. And it's established right away that this may be the last of its species.
Only one bird still stands alone, unwilling to leave. For the Eskimo curlew, something is wrong, terribly wrong. Each spring he has hopefully made the long flight up from South America. Each summer he has waited, and each fall he has lingered on.
It should be noted that the special and the book imply a level of intelligence that the bird probably wouldn't normally have, but it does help set the tone for what lies ahead. The narrator talks about how the curlews were once plentiful but were hunted to near extinction. Hunters would figure out their migration paths and just start picking them off out of the sky like it was a shooting gallery. As sad as this is, I feel like the inclusion of this goofy cartoon cat kind of undermines things. But as a result, the numbers dwindled down till it seemed like only one remained. And you really get a sense of the isolation and loneliness. The bird is mostly seen alone, either looking off into the distance, wondering if it'll ever see another of its kind, or flying by itself, all while at the mercy of its own natural instincts to migrate. Just going through the motions and doing what it always does. Though sometimes he's seen among other birds, and even leads a flock of golden plovers on their migration.
He has proved that he is the strongest flyer, and now the entire flock allows him to take the lead for the perilous journey over the sea.
Behold your new leader, for I am the swollest bird! He even leads them through a storm and gets them to safety, but after arriving at their destination, he breaks off to continue his solo journey. So the truth is, this special is only about 45 minutes long, and it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's a TV special from the 70s, so there's not a whole lot to say about it other than the bad stuff. So I think we should just jump right in. Warning, what follows may be one of the most shocking things ever put into a cartoon. I do not make such statements lightly. So while the male curlew is on its migration, they establish that there is in fact another curlew, a female who's on the same path as the male, but they keep missing each other by a few minutes or by flying too high to notice each other. Until they reach their destination in South America when they finally meet, which is one of the most joyous things you'll ever see. And for a brief moment, it seems like everything is going to be okay. But on their way back north, they stop at a farm in America. The farmer notices them and immediately goes for his gun and starts shooting at them. For no reason. They managed to get away, but the female took a hit. And they drag this out. You watch every moment of this poor creature's suffering. And the male trying to do whatever he can to help her. But inevitably, she dies. And the last shot of the special is the male curlew flying away with his species potentially doomed to extinction. Based on the setup and just me talking about this, you obviously knew that something bad was going to happen. I bet you thought something was going to happen to the bird we were following. You probably didn't think it would turn out like this, did you? Yeah, neither did I. There are moments in your life that change everything. Something comes along and completely alters your entire worldview. And for me as a kid, this was one of those moments. I've seen some intense stuff before in animated movies and TV shows, but for the most part, cartoons were just fun adventures. This was different. This was a harsh dose of reality. The special slowly and carefully builds up your hopes and expectations only to unapologetically shatter them to pieces. It presents a real, plausible situation and shows that actions have consequences. I hear the term gut punch get used a lot for stuff like this. Well, this wasn't a gut punch. This was a steel-toed boot roundhouse kick to the side of your head. I don't really remember much about what happened when I first watched this. It was a long time ago and details are kind of fuzzy, but apparently it upset me so much that my grandmother had to come check and make sure I was okay. And it's kind of interesting watching this again as an adult because I had a very different reaction. It made me angry. And I realized why. It's this guy. This face is what I remember more than anything else. Just look at him. They made sure to show that he's enjoying this. What kind of person sees a bird and immediately goes for a gun? And he's not even on screen for that long, but I don't think I've ever felt so much animosity for a nameless background character with no speaking lines. I have seen so many cartoon villains doing all kinds of selfish and horrible things, but you're the worst one of them all. Now at this point, maybe you're saying to yourself, Rob, it's just a cartoon. Aren't you overreacting? Yeah, about that. In case it wasn't apparent, the Eskimo curlew is a real species of bird, indigenous to Alaska and northwestern Canada. Just like the special says, they used to be very numerous and would migrate to Argentina during the winter. And just like the special said, their numbers were drastically reduced due to unregulated hunting in the late 19th century and early 20th century. But even after restrictions were put on hunting, so few were left that they were barely seen. The last confirmed sightings were in the 1960s, and while there have been small reports as recent as 2006, there's been no solid proof, and they have not been seen at their migratory destinations in South America. So it is very likely that they're extinct. And for what? Because they tasted good or something? Was it necessary? Was it worth it? No. Of course it wasn't. Now, let me make a few things perfectly clear. I'm not some crazy environmentalist, okay? I don't like PETA. I'm not a vegetarian. I don't drive a hybrid car, and you won't find me tying myself to things out of protest for something. I do recycle. I try not to drive my car if I don't have to. And you sure as hell would never catch me hunting for sport. But I do still get upset over stuff like this. Now, before we end things on such a grim note, I should mention that there is a bit more to this special. There's a B-plot about a man taking his son on his first hunting trip, but he's having some trouble taking the shot. He also takes time to observe other animals and knows which ones not to hunt, so he's not just going around blasting like he's Jimbo from South Park. They don't portray him as being a bad person, he just seems like a guy who wants to spend time with his son. At the end of the special, they're the ones that find the dead curlew, and I like that they show the dad upset over it as well. I do like that they ended it this way, since they showed the kid not too thrilled about hunting, and now he sees its results. In many ways, it kind of reminds me of the Lorax. No, the good one. You know, at the end, when the kid is presented with a choice to do better, it kind of has that same vibe to it. For how tragic this turned out, I think this was the best way to end it. The Last of the Curlews is heartbreaking, with a tragedy that extends far beyond the cartoon. And it's a shame that not a lot of people know about it, because I feel like it should be a lot more well known. For a TV special from the 70s that was produced by Hanna-Barbera, it's surprisingly good. It's incredibly effective at what it does, and it makes you aware of an endangered bird that most people probably had never heard of. It may not be the best looking cartoon, but it's really more about the content and the message. And its message is very strong and in some ways kind of relatable. I mean, imagine searching your entire life for the one thing you could have ever wanted, only to have it mercilessly taken away from you. Yeah, I've been there. Though it was pretty hard to find for a while, I thought the DVD was the only place you could find it, and if you collect animation like I do, it is worth picking up, but it was uploaded to YouTube not too long ago, so you can watch it there if you're interested. But be warned, you will not be in for a good time. Sorry, Curlews. You didn't deserve this. Well, I'm glad I could finally put this unfortunate incident from my childhood to rest. I realized this episode was a bit different than what we normally do here, but this is something I'd been wanting to talk about for a while, so thanks for watching, and when I come back, I promise I'll review something a little bit more fun.
On golden wing, you and I went wandering